Okay, so I hope that was useful. The last thing I want to show you is we haven't really talked about sampling, sample design. I've showed you that you need to use weights. Stata has a whole suite of commands called the SVY set commands. You learn about these a lot if you did the Data First course in complex survey design, which also happens in February. I just want you to first of all remember that these numbers that we are estimating are estimates. They're not the truth. We don't know. It's a sample. We're not surveying the whole country. It's 71,000 individuals in this data set. But what we can do is use the weights to estimate some things where we know the number already. In one case, we know the number of grants that are dispersed by the South African state, and that number is 17 million. And so what we can do with our data set, we've created the variable HH grants, the number of grants, and we can use the Stata SVY command to estimate the total number of grants in the South African population. And we can put some confidence intervals on there and the standard error. So I do that here. And what you can see is something remarkable. The point estimate is 16.87 million. As I just mentioned, the actual number of grants is about 17 million. So this survey gets the number of grants being dispersed pretty much exactly right. There is a confidence interval, and what you can see is that it's between 16.5 million and 17.25 million. So that seems fairly large. That's about 750,000 is the width of the confidence interval. But nevertheless, this is pretty amazing. That is, household survey of only 20,000 households, 21,000 households, can get us pretty much bang on target the total number of social grants that were dispersed in 2018 in South Africa. So that's just a plug for saying household survey data might be relatively small sample compared to the population size, but on some things at least it can be extremely accurate. We've been using the grant data as well as other data on earnings and pensions and remittances, but at least as far as grants are concerned, this data looks pretty much spot on. And so that's just a reassuring thing. As we use the data, we have some external check that tells us that the data is pretty good. So I hope this webinar has been useful. It's my first time doing such a thing, so I'm probably going to get better at it, but nevertheless, I hope it was useful for you. You should have access to both this recording in several parts, and then also the do file, and you should be able to download the data from Data First yourself after you've registered. And so I hope this puts you in a position to improve your Stata skills and to go further and to create your own more interesting graphs than the one I created with the deciles. That can also be useful to you in general, and then also at this particular moment in history where useful analysis like this might be kind of important and need to be done in a hurry. So I hope this was useful, and I also hope that we'll produce another webinar fairly soon, which you might also come back to and enjoy.